Just before you watch this collab with Kylie, I just wanted to say that the first part of this video, the audio broke, so I couldn't save it. So that's why you're gonna start watching this video without an intro. That's why I'm doing this right now. So this video is basically horror movies that defined Kylie and me. It doesn't mean they're our favorite horror movies of all time, because that's another video. These are just horror movies that are part of our lives, that they impact us in a sort of way. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. This video is so much fun. You're gonna laugh because some options, some movies that we selected are so funny. So I really hope you enjoy it. And just don't forget to let us know what you think about this video, and don't forget to give us your top. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and just welcome back to another video here on this channel, Royal Horror.
Jungle of love.
So I'm just gonna group these next two together because they're pretty similar. They're both Spielberg movies and they're both creature features, and obviously that's Jaws and Jurassic Park. I grew up watching both of these movies, and Jaws in particular. I've talked about this on my channel, how my grandpa showed me a lot of horror movies with my dad as well, and Jaws is like one of the ones. I think that was like the first horror movie that I ever saw was Jaws. So yeah, I mean, and I'm such a sucker for creature features. Like, that's one of my favorite subgenres of all time. I have a few other favorite subgenres that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but yeah, creature features are a big one, and it's mainly because of those two movies, and I talk about them a lot.
Between those movies, I think I would prefer the Jurassic Park universe, but just because I have rewatched those movies more than the Joe universe. But it's not a secret that Joe changed the game when it comes to future creatures, and especially because the first movie really scared many people all around the world. And yeah, I prefer Jurassic Park, but I would respect this movie because of the impact they made in horror.
Yeah, I adore both of those movies so much, but I'm a bigger fan of dinosaurs, so.
Right, so the next film that really defined me, and this is like the only non-horror from the list, and that will be Cellular from 2004, I believe. Now, the reason that this movie defined me is because I love watching movies with my family, and this is one of the first few movies I watched with them, and it's actually scary because imagine this happens to you. I will actually be chilling myself, so that's one of the main reasons why Cellular will be on my list.
Okay, good stuff. The next one on my list is another one that was shown to me by my grandpa, and that would be Signs, which, if you know me, you know I also love aliens, and that is another subgenre that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is one of my favorite alien movies of all time. I think mainly because, I really relate to the family, and it's not like my family really in any way mirrors that family, because my family's not like that one at all. But, the closeness and kind of the way that they interact with each other, I found to be really relatable, and I've seen that movie. Yeah, I've seen that movie so many times because it's really centered on family, and I am really close with my family. My dad comes on my channel a lot. If you don't
I love
know
your dad, to be honest. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, so that one just hits close to home and has a very special place in my heart.
I haven't seen Signs in a very long time. I think it's been 10 years maybe. So I'm very excited to rewatch it because I don't remember a single thing. But I also love aliens, so yeah, I'm gonna give it a rewatch.
Okay, good.
The next film that will define me will be Yu-Hon, The Grudge, the Japanese or the original one. It's not a secret, and I think everyone knows at this point that I love the Grudge universe, excluding the 2020 version. I just loved the way that it was shot, and I think Japanese horror really helps the horror genre in film in general. And the main reason why this movie defined me is because there is two scenes that really terrified me as a kid. The one that the demon is, I forgot the demon, when she's coming down the stairs, and when this character takes her shit up and the demon is on her legs. I watched that as a kid. Oh, okay, I need to bring the light in.
Light. Our light went out. That makes a lot of sense. I know how much he loves Japanese horror now. Okay, my next one that defines me would have to be Insidious Chapter 2.
Ooh.
The reason why it's Chapter 2 is because that was the first horror movie that I ever saw in theaters. I think that I was 14 years old when it came out, and so that was the first one I ever got to see in a theater, and just scared the crap out of me, and I went to see it twice.
Preach.
And yeah, and the second time I went to see it with my first ever boyfriend.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, freshman year of high school, you know the vibes. So it was a special one to me, and it has consistently remained one of my favorite horror movies probably of all time. Like, I prefer the second one to the original.
Oh, popular opinion time.
Yeah.
And Insidious 2 is actually as well on my list. So let me talk about this movie right now, because I also added Insidious 2 as a horror movie that defined me, and the main reason is because, like you said, that movie came out in an era where we were like on our early teenagers. So it's like, of course the movie had to impact us, and we love demons, and the demons on this movie, they really work, especially this character that you are gonna cosplay in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, this movie is actually scary. Until this date, I rewatched this movie like maybe a few months ago with my best friend, and I didn't remember it too much, and it actually like it scared me like quite a bit. So that movie really works.
Dude, the Insidious movies consistently, like, they always scare me. I don't know why, but
especially like the plot between the first and the second.
Oh, it
really work. And Patrick Wilson, come on, who doesn't love Patrick Wilson? Like, you know me, he's one of my biggest crushes ever. So.
Yeah, exactly. And those first two movies, like, they're woven together so well. And I don't know what it is, because, like, with a lot of movies, I get used to them, and then, like, I know the plot, and then, like, they don't scare me anymore. Insidious and, like, The Conjuring 2, they always still scare me.
Preach.
Okay.
So, what would be your next?
My next one, which is one that you actually mentioned for me, I'm going to kind of group some of these together because found footage is one of my favorite subgenres as well. It's one of his too. So I'm just going to group together like a couple of my favorites, which Blair Witch Project, obviously. And then we have Troll Hunter, which is one that I've been talking about like way too much. So I was like, you know what, like I have to include it because people are going to start to associate that movie with me.
You can, if you want to see full thoughts of those movies, just check Kylie's video. I will leave the link down below, and we talked about so much from these movies over Kylie's video, so.
Yeah, and the last one in this category would be Phoenix Forgotten. I ride so hard for all three of these movies. I ride so hard for Phoenix Forgotten. Yeah, so just, I mean, found footage in general, like, you can usually count me in. I enjoy almost all found footage movies. Like, there are very few that I've seen that I feel like I really didn't like, you know, so.
Yeah, found footage deserves way more recognition because I think it's one of the most realistic subgenres in filming, because that's what, like, people do with their phones, with the camera, you just record everything, and I love when movies make you feel that way, so. My next movie that defined me, that will be Green Inferno from 2014, I believe.
Oh, really?
And horror movies, when it comes to horror movies, I have never ever puked while watching a horror movie, and Green Inferno made me do it. So...
Shut up!
Yeah. Green Inferno. Have you seen Green Inferno?
No, I'm not gonna watch that.
So do not watch it, because I don't mind gore, I don't mind people getting tortured, I don't mind bodies being opened, but Green Inferno, I don't know what it is, but I don't know if I was too tired, I don't know if the vibes, but it's not a movie that I want to rewatch ever. And yeah, I think that's the main reason why it kind of defines me, because it's the first and only horror movie that has made me do that.
Wow, that's traumatizing.
I know.
My next one, well, actually two that I grouped together yet again, but that would be a couple movies from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and these are ones that I feel like people are going to start to associate with me because I ride for them pretty hard, and that would be A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and the remake.
Oh! Plot twist.
I know.
The remake.
The remake, because you know what, like, I fully recognize every time that I talk about the remake and Dream Master, I recognize that they're really bad movies, especially the remake. Like, I know it's really bad. But I really, really enjoy, like, the first 30 minutes or so of the remake because I love Kellen Lutz in his opening scene, and I love Katie Cassidy. They should have made her the lead. I think that Jackie Earle Haley's performance as Freddy is really incredible, even if he looks like shit. Like, I think his performance is still really incredible. So even if everything else about the movie is bad, like, I still want to praise it for what it did well, because a lot of people just say that, like, it's flat out just a terrible movie, but, like, not everything about it is bad, you know? And I think the style of it is really cool. And then with Dream Master, I think that movie out of the entire franchise has my favorite practical effects. Like, I think they're some of the best of the whole franchise. That one is kind of like tied with the first movie for being my favorites of the franchise, which I know is just kind of like unpopular for some reason, but I really enjoy the stupidness of it.
I completely agree with you with the remake. I think the opening scene is amazing, especially like the color palette and also the first kill. And the next horror movie that kind of defines me at all will be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning from 2006. And the reason is because this is the first horror movie that I watched with my sister. When I watched this movie, my sister was like 18 and I was like maybe 8 because we have like 10 years difference. And it's so funny because I will never forget this. And my mom, she told us, do not let Tiago watch this movie because this can be quite hard and this can be quite harsh. My sister was like, yes, it's fine. And I watched it with her, and Leatherface in that movie looks very creepy and very scary. So as you can already tell, that movie like kind of gave me nightmares. But I love this movie so much, and I think that's one of the main reasons, because like it was such a nice time with my sister, and I will always love remembering Texas Chainsaw at the beginning as one of the first horror movies that I watched with my sister.
Oh, cute. That's probably one of my least favorites from that franchise, but like if I had seen it, you know what, I feel like I did kind of watch that movie as a kid because I really liked Matt Bomer, whatever.
And Jordana is like, she was Fast and Furious icon, so I had to watch that movie.
Jordana Brewster, she's great. Oh, she's great in that movie. Okay, so my next one is one that's also from my childhood, so that's cool. That would be Arachnophobia, which is the movie that's like about spiders. It's from like the 90s, so you probably haven't seen it.
No, I haven't heard of it, seen it.
No, I'm pretty sure that it's like a B movie. I don't know why my family owned it, but we have always had it on DVD for some reason, and I don't even think it's a movie that like my parents like or my grandparents liked, but we always had the DVD. So I just watched it like non-stop as a kid because it's just like a really dumb, cheesy, 90s kind of B horror movie.
Okay.
And it's about spiders. It's about like killer spiders, and it's so over the top and it's so dumb, and I loved it as a kid, like as a little kid. For some reason I just adored that movie.
Have you ever watched it recently?
No, but I'm going to. I had an idea for a video to like rewatch all the horror movies I loved as a child, and that would be one of them, and I'm sure that a lot of them are just gonna be like very bad.
I haven't seen or heard of it, but just because it sounds very cheesy, like 90s cheesy. Who doesn't love 90s cheesy? Come on, so I'm gonna give it a go as well.
Really?
The next horror movie that will define me will be It from 1990, the original, the miniseries, but I consider that as a film, to be honest.
Yeah.
That Pennywise, I think for me and many horror fans, that Pennywise, it scared the crap out of me as a kid, to be honest. Especially the shower scene. The shower scene, when I was showered at my house, I was scared. I was like, Pennywise is gonna come any second, any time. So yeah, that's why.
Oh yeah, the shower scene was like with one of the little boys.
Yeah, and with like he's on that hole and he makes the hole bigger and he just transforms into the demon.
Right.
That scene.
I remember that. I didn't watch that movie until I was older, so at that point it was already kind of like, okay, well this movie's kind of cheesy.
The movie's cheesy.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was little, I was really scared of clowns, and so like if I had seen that would have traumatized me. Okay, so my next one is also one that I really loved as a kid, and just, when you're a little kid and you just rewatch movies like over and over because you love them.
Of course, yeah.
So this is another one much like Arachnophobia, but that would be The Birds, which is an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
I've seen that one. They're from the 60s.
Yeah, from like 64 or something like that, mid 60s. Yeah, I actually rewatched that one kind of recently, and it still pretty much holds up. Like, I still think it's a pretty good movie, and it's still decently scary. Like, it makes me look at birds differently.
I will always say pigeons. Don't trust pigeons. Like, pigeons, they will attack you. I don't know what it is, but every time I see a pigeon, out of the sudden they just fly to you like they're gonna attack you. So do not trust pigeons. Those animals are gonna attack us anytime, anywhere. Apocalypse is gonna be because of the pigeons. I hate pigeons.
They just want your food. Oh my god. Okay, it's your turn.
Yes, okay. I'm sorry, I hate pigeons. The next horror movie that defines me, I think you're not gonna be shocked, you're not gonna be surprised, because that movie is Scream 4 from 2011. This film, what can I say about Scream 4 that I haven't said before? First of all, this is one of the first horror movies that I went to watch at the cinemas. This movie came out when I was like 12, so I was like at the beginning of my teenagers, and I identify myself so much with Kirby because in that era I used to talk about horror all the time at my school, and I would get bullied because of that, because I wouldn't shut up about horror. So I really like that horror gave us Kirby. People say Randy and stuff. I didn't grow up with Randy, so I don't really identify with Randy. But Kirby, like, she's an icon. I love her, and I think that's one of the main reasons. And also Olivia's death kind of like not traumatized me, like kind of like scared me, because at that age I was not used to watch gore, and when I saw Olivia's death I was like, whoa. And since then I've been loving this movie, and many people have told me when I watch Scream 4 I think about you. So it's like, this movie had to be like horror movies that defined me.
Yeah, I remember even when I was a teenager, which was like the first time that I watched all the Scream movies, they were still really scary, and the gore, I mean, there's not that much gore in Scream, but like it still really affected me because I was just younger, and they are really scary, especially if you're younger. So okay, so my next one, I don't know if most people will count these, but this is another kind of subgenre that I'm obsessed with, but there's just simply not enough of it, and that's stop motion animation. So for me, that would be Coraline and the Corpse Bride.
I knew you were going to include Coraline. I just knew it. I knew you were going to include Coraline.
Because I ride for that movie. I ride so hard for Coraline. But also the Corpse Bride, which the Corpse Bride came out, I think, in 2005. So I was 6 years old. And that's another one that I rewatched incessantly. I watched it so many times, and I still enjoy it as an adult. And Coraline, I finally recently got on Blu-ray, and it even came with like weird little 3D kind of glasses with it, which is kind of cool. So I recently rewatched it and loved it just as much, and I think it's just like one of the most artistically brilliant movies ever. I feel that way about so many like stop motion animation movies, except that there aren't enough of them. Like, I need more of them, you know?
I would completely agree with you. I think those both movies work perfectly, especially Coraline. And it's not a secret that movie is not really for every single kid in the world, because that movie is actually quite scary. The first time that I watched it, it's not like it gave me nightmares, but I was like what's going on in this movie, like what is he trying to do? So it's not until I really watched it like a few years back that I could understand what was going on. But the next horror movie that defined me would be The Strangers from 2008. Like I mentioned before, I love home invasions, and I think that Strangers is in my top 10 horror movies of all time, and the main reason why it defined me is because I watched it for the first time, I think it was the same year that it came out, or next year when The Orphan came out, around that era, and I watched this movie by myself, and it was late. So imagine at 9 or 10 years old watching The Strangers by yourself. Yeah, so, and the funny thing is that as soon as I finished the film, a few moments later, like half an hour, 40 minutes after, my sister was coming from work, so she knocked the door, and I was like, oh crap, like, are the Stranger family right now at my place? So I think that's why, and I will always love the movie. I think it works perfectly, and it's actually scary for me.
Okay, so I have kind of another group. I've been just like grouping mine because there's so many movies that like I just love, and I wanted to talk about. So my next group is like artistic movies, if you will. So that would be Gretel and Hansel.
And beautiful movie. Yeah,
and one that like I always put kind of a disclaimer, kind of a trigger warning with this one, and that is A Cure for Wellness, because there are some parts of the plot that are like really, really bad and like not something that anybody wants to see, frankly, but it's just the fact that I'm such a big fan of Gore Verbinski and the cinematographer. So I can't remember his name right now, but Gore Verbinski was also the director of The Ring, and he worked with the same cinematographer that he worked with on The Ring, on A Cure for Wellness. So that pairing, I don't know what it is about them, but they just create the most artistically, like aesthetically pleasing, gorgeous cinematography I've ever seen. So definitely, if you watch nothing else that I've recommended, like The Ring and A Cure for Wellness, if you're in the mood for visuals, then, you know, I would say that I've talked about A Cure for Wellness a good amount of times, and same with Gretel and Hansel, which they're both movies that I really only watch for the visuals, because with both of those, the stories are not super strong, and so people might be like, why does she like these movies? But
visuals, it's all about the visuals.
Yeah, it's just all about the visuals. So
I haven't seen that movie, so I'm definitely checking that out. But I love visuals. I love when movies are pleasing to watch, so I'm quite excited for that. The next movie that defined me would be Jennifer's Body from 2009. Now, it's not a secret that Megan Fox is one of my biggest crushes of all time. I think it's the first crush that I had.
Me too.
Jennifer's Body So when I heard that Megan Fox, one of my crushes, was in a horror movie, I was like, wait a damn second. How come one of my crushes in a horror movie? And of course this movie has bi representation, so I was like, oh my god, it's all I ever needed. Megan Fox, a bi character in a horror movie. What else could I ask for? And that movie works perfectly. I watched this movie in the year that it came out. I own it as soon as it came out. And I remember when that happened, when that movie came out, I think I was in like in year 8, which like I was around 11, and on my like drawing class. So the teacher asked to draw any scene from any movie that impact you, and in that era I drew the scene where Megan Fox is walking with her hoodie with hearts. I tried to draw her. It looks true. I don't know if I have the drawing anymore, and I remember everyone was drawing like Iron Man, another superhero, blah blah, and I drew Megan Fox because that movie really impacted me. And I
want to say before I say my next one that with stop motion animation, I forgot to mention Frankenweenie, which to me is that's oh gosh, it's so good. It's another stop motion one that I actually gave 5 out of 5 stars. But yeah, Frankenweenie is like a perfect 5 out of 5 star movie for me. So just had to put that out there. And then my next category would have to be dark comedies. So I'm just gonna include 2 of them because there are a lot that I like. So for the movies for this little category for me, that would be Freaky and Happy Death Day, which I believe are done by the same director. Yeah, and then my last movie is also kind of a dark comedy. Well, it's definitely a dark comedy, but it's kind of its own thing, so I'm going to talk about it last. And then also, of course, like Ready or Not is also a dark comedy, and like there are a lot that I like. The Hunt is another good one. So basically just, almost anything like that's come out kind of like in the last 5 years that's a dark comedy I've enjoyed, so, you know.
Yeah. My next movie will be Roller Coaster. Oh, love. I don't know the rest. Final Destination 3 from 2006. Now, this movie, gosh, I love the Final Destination franchise so much, and this is my favorite Final Destination movie. It's not a secret that every time that I go into a roller coaster, I just think of this movie. And also, I remember in my English class, when I was like 9 or 10, the teacher was like, write an essay about a movie and explain it to the class. And I wrote an essay about Final Destination 3. Aww. And also, I remember I used to play with my friends about me being Wendy and them being like the victims. So I remember when we went into this Christmas roller coaster theme park. We went to the roller coaster and I was like, okay guys, this is the time. I don't know if I have that video anymore, but I had a phone. I think it was the iPhone 4, iPhone, that kind of era, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna film and stuff. So I was like pretending to be Wendy, and my friends were pretending to be the victims. And in the roller coaster, I literally, listen to this, I literally had a gum and I put it under the roller coaster seat to recreate the scene from Wendy. And I was like, and I was filming the whole thing. I was meant to be a filmmaker.
Oh my god.
It's so much fun. And I remember, so we finished that and we left the park and stuff, and we continued filming. So I filmed my friends like dying because they were the victims. I don't know if I need to search for that video because I need to watch that. And I just remember being obsessed with Ashley and Ashley's death.
Oh yeah.
And so it used to be like, I tried to recreate it when I went to like the swimming pool and it was very sunny. I used to like film myself as Ashley and I used to be like singing. I used to be like pretend that I was dying because of the sun. So yeah, Final Destination 3 just, I don't know, it's part of my life, part of my soul. And I don't know, I love Final Destination 3 so much. And I just love that movie.
I'm like, okay, so I'm imagining like a young Tiago going to his friends, okay, let's all like pretend we're gonna die. It's gonna be so fun.
And you know what's funny? They took me out from the roller coaster park because I was screaming like Wendy because I was like, yep, you can ask my mom. I was like please stop this. I've seen a vision. Everyone's gonna cry. I remember.
No! That's an amazing story, and there's no way that I can top that at all with my last movie. I have nothing like that to bring to the table, unfortunately, so I'm sorry. Just manage your expectations right now because I don't have a good story like that. Okay, so my last movie that I'm going to talk about today is another Tim Burton movie, actually, and that would be Dark Shadows that came out, I think, in 2012 or maybe 2011. That was a movie that I went to see in the theater with my dad, and we both thought that it was just super, super weird and like not good at all at the time, and it was like one of those movies that just kind of stuck with me that like made me super uncomfy, and I like did not know how to process it because I think I was like 12 years old, and I just I did not know what to do with that information. Yeah, so fast forward like 9 years now, I'm 21 and I rewatched it, and I literally gave it 4.5 stars. Obsessed with it. It's a dark comedy. It's stylized as hell. It's set in the 70s. It's about a vampire played by Johnny Depp.
70s.
Oh, everything about it just like everything about that
Kylie.
movie screams it's me. The 70s is my favorite decade for fashion. Vampires are my favorite like magical being, you know?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, kind of maybe tied with witches, but like vampires are just, anyways, everything just about that movie. It's super stylized, like cinematography is amazing, color palette is great, the fashion is amazing, Johnny Depp has a super weird, wonderful performance. It's extremely chaotic, and the third act, just a lot of it doesn't really make any sense, and it kind of falls apart, and I just love everything about it.
Now, the last two movies, I'm just gonna talk very quickly about the second one because I've talked about this movie so many times, and that will be Friday the 13th, the remake. And this movie is my favorite horror movie of all time. It's not a secret for anyone, and it's because this is the first ever horror movie that I went to watch at the cinemas. That Jason scared me as a kid, and I just love that movie. I think this is the first gory movie that I watched, and I loved it. And the last movie will be Halloween Resurrection. I'm gonna make a video talking about this movie because this movie is the only movie that has traumatized me and sent me to therapy because I couldn't sleep. I had nightmares almost every day. You can ask my parents. That Michael traumatized me. I watched this movie for like when I was like 7, and I think this is the first ever horror movie that I watched like at the TV. Friday the 13th is at the cinemas, but this is like the first ever horror movie. And since then, I haven't watched the movie. I'm not gonna rewatch it because I know it's gonna bring me throwbacks, and yeah, that's why I don't really like the Halloween franchise, because Michael really scares me. So yeah.
Luckily, I didn't watch any of the Halloween movies until I was an adult. I think that I was probably like 19 or 20 when I saw the first Halloween movie. I was 19 when Halloween 2018 came out, and then I watched the original movie before I watched that one. So I guess I was 19 when I like was introduced to the franchise. So luckily was never traumatized by Michael.
Alright, so those were the movies that defined us. Let us know if you agree with our list, and also let us know in the comment section below which horror movies define you. We'll keep an eye on our upcoming collabs, especially the cosplay that we're gonna make. That will come up over my channel and Kylie's channel with different topics, so stay tuned for that. See you on the next video. Have a nice end of the week, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.